Hi, I'm Nicole.
And I'm Patrick.
And we are Becoming Feral. Welcome to our channel.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
And you'll never forget again. So today we're going to be answering everybody's frequently asked questions about this hike. We're going to be doing the Pacific Crest Trail. Just a tiny bit of background. We leave on April 11th from the southern terminus in Campo, California, and we're walking all the way up to almost to Canada. So that's 2,653 miles, give or take, depending on what kind of closures and reroutes there are. But yeah, and here are answers to all of your questions.
I'll go first.
Okay.
So how much do your packs weigh?
So my base weight is around 20-ish pounds, and then that's just with all of my gear, not including food or water, and because those can vary so much in weight, and at times it's going to be up to 30 plus pounds, just depending on where we are, how far we have to carry water, and how much food we're going to be eating, which will drastically increase as we continue to hike more.
Right, and I think my backpack's going to weigh anywhere from 25 to 35 pounds, again, depending on food and water, and carry through the Sierra.
And I'm sure that'll change, not just because of food and water, but things that we either decide that we need and we don't have, or things we do not need and we get rid of along the way. So it'll change a little bit just based on what our actual needs end up being.
Right.
Okay, next question.
Will you take breaks now and then in towns?
Heck yeah.
Yes. Yes, we plan on taking breaks in certain towns, Idlewild, Mammoth, South Lake Tahoe, and certainly a handful of others throughout the 3 states. So we'll figure out the rest of them as we go, but those are the names that are off the top of my head here in California.
Still a huge vast majority of the time we're going to be backpacking, so sleeping in our lovely tent, which we have another video about. We did some practice setups the other day. It was actually really fun, and but yeah, most of the time we're actually going to be camping. So okay,
that ties into the next question. Are you camping the entire time or mixing it up with more modern accommodations? So yeah, we'll be camping in the tent 99% of the time, and then the balance will be spent in town. I don't expect that we're going to have more than 20 or 25 nights in town. How many pair of shoes will you go through?
So we're guessing probably around 5 or so. We're just going to have to wait and see how that goes. And we're taking different approaches to that. Patrick has already purchased all of the shoes that he will use for the hike, and I have my beginning pair of shoes, and I'm just going to see how it goes, if I need a different size or a completely different shoe. So I've been doing a lot of training hikes in them, the Topo Athletic Terra Venture 2, and I really like them so far. But we're just going to have to wait and see, because I've never put this kind of miles on my body in such a short period of time, so I want to be open to what I need when I need it.
Right, and I think 500 miles a pair is probably the right number. I have the La Sportiva Wildcat, and I got them on sale, so I bought 4 pair of them. I've worn 1 pair down, and so I have 3 left. Those will be the 3 that I start out with, and then maybe change shoes or just buy more of the same shoe as they wear out.
What else you got?
What are you doing about food?
Eating it, a lot of it.
Yes.
All day long.
A lot. And we handled food a little bit differently than most people. We've packaged and will be sending those packages to various towns throughout the entire trip. My niece actually is going to be mailing them ahead of time for us.
Thank you, Courtney.
Yes,
and
thanks,
all
Courtney.
of the Jensens, you're awesome.
So we chose that route because we didn't want to be in town all the time, especially during COVID. We didn't want to spend the time shopping when we should really be spending that time recovering and relaxing.
Showering.
We didn't want to get people sick. We don't want to get sick. and it just seemed a better use of our trail time to spend it now, although I'm second guessing that after having spent so much of it. But we're going to send those packages ahead of time. They're going to range anywhere from 2,500 to 4,000 calories. Excuse me.
Per person per day.
Yes, per person per day. And we'll adjust as plans allow. We'll adjust in towns and make various additions and subtractions as we go forward. One
thing I do want to add is another reason for sending all of our resupply boxes, or the vast majority of them, is because we're both committed vegans, and we are going to be doing this trail entirely vegan as well. So it's possible to do it without without sending resupply boxes and vegan, but we really wanted to have more control over the quality of food that we're eating, to make sure that in addition to the calories we're taking in, that we're also meeting all of our other nutritional needs as well, so we can stay healthy and strong for all of our hiking.
So next question is how much water? And water really just depends on the location of water on the trail or around the trail.
So the question is, how much water will you carry at one time,
right,
basically?
Right,
okay.
Right. So we're going to carry anywhere from 2 liters at a time to 6 or 7. Mm-hmm. The desert section has some dry stretches of 20 to 35 miles. There may be water caches in those sections, but they can't really be relied upon. And in turn, you don't want to expect a water cache to be available and have it not be available and then be really dry. So we'll manage that situation on the trail, and I expect it to be anywhere between 2 and 7 liters per person at a time.
Especially the 6 liters is going to be more toward in the desert section, and then when we get up to a lot of snow and other stream crossings, that we can be a little bit more loosey-goosey with that situation and just fill up when we need it. So
right. What are you doing about snow? Crampons, boots, etc. So snow travel, I think for both of us, is just going to be ice axes, microspikes, and a good dose of common sense. Mm-hmm. We'll be sleeping in the snow when we get into the Sierra and maybe parts of the desert section that are high elevation. But for the most part, snow travel is just part of traveling through the Sierra, and the primary consideration is good common sense. Mm-hmm. And I think we both have that, and we'll be able to manage that situation with microspikes and an ice axe.
Yes. Agreed.
The last question I have is, how long will it take you? How many miles a day? And so I just break it down. We're giving ourselves 5 months to do this trip. That's 150 days. If we take 20 days out for overnight 0 days, then that leaves us 130 walking days. So we're going to need to average a little above 20 miles a day, 20 to 22 miles a day. That will get the job done. And some days we'll be doing less than that, especially at the beginning and especially through the Sierra. Mm. But then there will be other days in Northern California and Oregon where we're able to do more than that, and we're going to be in the 30 mile a day range at that point. So any shortages that we run into early in the trip we'll make up for in the second half of it.
You got anything else?
That's it.
Okay.
That's all I got.
So I've got some questions. So starting from the top, I know what scares me, but what are you most scared of being on the trail? So this is, of course, I have an idea now, and this is just the anticipation of being done and coming back to the real world and all of society is a little bit nerve-wracking for me, just because I know this is such a huge undertaking, and we're going to be living a very different life for the next 5 or so months. So kind of reintegrating might be challenging, but that might be a piece of cake too, and there'll be something completely different that comes along and smacks you upside the head with fear along the way, but I'll cross that bridge when I come to it.
And for me, my biggest fear is simply not finishing. The secondary fear for me is stream crossings, stream or river crossings, and that's the part that just kind of keeps me awake at night, so to speak. But again, with a good dose of common sense, we'll manage that second part.
Yeah. Next question. Let's see here.
Do you want to say who these questions are from?
No, that's okay.
Okay.
That's okay. Because for everybody who asked this question, there are at least 5 other people who had the same question. So thank you all who've asked these questions. So we really appreciate it. Because there are some things I just hadn't even thought of to address in this video. So thank you for that. What if one of you gets injured deep in the woods? Well, first of all, we seriously hope that doesn't happen, but it's always a possibility. And we will be carrying the Garmin InReach, so that'll have an SOS function that can alert search and rescue to come in and fish us out if that's necessary. And we'll be hiking together most of the time. Yeah, I think
that's really it.
Yeah,
we have that covered with the InReach, and the SOS button will get search and rescue to us. So the trail is never too far from any particular town or city, so we should be relatively close to any type of major medical if we end up needing it.
So we're but we are looking forward before we go into certain potentially dangerous areas, so we kind of have an idea of what we might run into. We're paying close attention to the reports on the trail from people who have already gone through that section. We will be paying very close attention to how we're feeling so we don't push it and injure ourselves. So we're doing everything we can to mitigate it, but sometimes there are situations just come up and we're going to have to react when they do. But I think we've got some pretty good plans in place so that we'll be okay if something happens.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else? How are you going to get enough calories to sustain? So we've already talked about calories a little bit. So I think we're going to be good there. In addition to the food that is being sent to us, we'll be eating in town as well, as much as we can. Delicious hot food and drinking beer, and we get plenty of calories in town. And then if we don't have enough food in our resupply boxes, we can always amend with things in town, which I personally plan on adding a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables and fresh food when I'm in town, because what we're going to be getting in resupply, although it's great, it's all dehydrated or freeze-dried for weight and longevity. So yeah, we'll get plenty of calories, and don't worry, there'll be some empty calories in there. There may or may not be 8 boxes of Girl Scout cookies split amongst all of our resupplies. I'm just saying, they're all vegan, but
they're there.
It's not. I don't think it's a coincidence that Girl Scout cookie season lines up just perfectly with the beginning of hiking season. I don't know. I cannot believe that's a coincidence.
It was a good idea.
Let's see. What if you get sick of one another? Well, if that was a possibility, we wouldn't be making this video together. So I think we're going to be okay. And there will be days where we hike separately for a little while, just because one person will be going faster than the other person.
But we're good at giving each other trail space.
Yeah.
and hiking at our own speeds and meeting up in predetermined areas, and that makes it easier to be by yourself when you want to be by yourself.
Yeah.
So we've been backpacking together before, so we're pretty well we pretty well understand each other's needs there.
I think we went on our first backpacking trip after we'd known each other for less than 2 months. So, and that was 6.5 years ago. So
yeah.
we got a history there. I think we'll be okay. Do you bring a knife or anything of that nature? So we are going to bring a knife, but it'll be a very small utility knife. We won't be bringing anything for self-defense or as any kind of a weapon, because that's just not necessary. We're not bringing bear spray. We're not in grizzly territory. Bears that we run into will be searching for our food, so we will be carrying, storing our food appropriately and eating our food appropriately, making our dinner a mile or 2 or 3 before we actually camp for the night, so we're not like a beacon of like tasty like downwind deliciousness or upwind deliciousness. Anyway, so I think we'll be okay. We, you know, neither of us have ever had that need, and honestly, most of the people who ask about weapons on the trail are the ones who haven't spent any time on the trail, so it's a fear that is just largely unfounded. So,
and for the two-legged predators, I'm well equipped and versed in Krav Maga, so don't show up at the campsite thinking something crazy, because it won't work.
And the great thing is that the people you have to worry about the most are not the trail people, the other hikers, they're the city people, and we're gonna smell so bad that it's just like a built-in self-defense. So exactly. That's our lovely aroma will be our best defense. Let's see, we already talked about miles per day. What do you think you will miss the most? I bet by the end it's something completely different than what you thought, and that is very possible. Right now, I think I'm gonna miss hot showers whenever I want. I'm sure when hiker hunger kicks in and we're just eating everything in sight, that it's going to be a food related situation of eating whatever we want whenever we want it. But and I also agree with that question that it's probably going to be something very different than what I'm thinking now. So what about you?
Yeah, I think most of all I'm going to miss my kid, my cats,
yeah,
and my friends and family. Because
okay,
this is
so
going to be...
That made my answer look lame.
This is going to be largely a trip where communication is pretty slim, and everybody else's lives are just going to continue on, and ours is going to be something different. So it'll be interesting to see where everybody is 5 or 6 months from now.
Yeah. Do awesome things, y'all, and surprise us.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a question cutoff limit? No, ask more questions. So let's see. We've already talked about shoes. We already talked a little bit about animals. Can you skip along the trail? Sure. I don't think that's a good idea for me, because as most of you who know me know or aware of, I don't move through the world with any kind of physical grace at all. So that's a recipe for injuring myself on day one. So I will not be doing that. And I also would love to run into somebody who skipped most of the trail, and I would really like to come up with a fun trail name for them.
Other than Skippy.
Yeah, other than Skippy. That's just obvious. And we'll let you know if our trail names change along the way. Currently I'm Mittens, which unfortunately has nothing to do with Bernie. I had the name first, so I'm the original Mittens. And do you want to share any trail names that you may or may not have?
Well, my trail name is Gray Bunny, better known as GB, but we're both open to being christened on this particular trail by the people that were around.
Yeah. So,
and trail names are names that other hikers give you based on characteristics that of something that you've done, or typically something embarrassing that you've done, but
or a wonderful quality about you.
Right.
Let's not limit it.
So we'll remain open to see what PCT 2021 trail names we get from the people we're around.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's mostly it. Oh yes, will there be pictures of just your lower legs and your shoes? Absolutely. We have a lot of pictures over the last few years of just our shoes and the wonderful, beautiful environments that those feet took us to. It's kind of significant because, you know, we walked there, our feet did most of the work, so we'll probably do that again. I promise not to do any video of just our feet walking on the trail though, because that drives me crazy. So,
right.
And you don't get to see anything other than the trail. So, yeah, I think that's largely it. I feel like there's something else that we're missing, but I'm sure there are other questions that you all will come up with, and feel free to ask in the comments, or just continue to watch and your questions will be answered.
That's right.
So that's all for now. Look forward to y'all watching our videos and hopefully seeing us succeed.
Thanks.